Hey there YouTube, this is CFL Fanatic, once again giving you my picks for Week 19 in the 2010 CFL season. Last week of 2010, so officially now there are 9 games left. Only 9. So, and then the season will be over, and then we'll have to wait an agonizing 7 months before the 2011 season starts. Okay, so heading into the last week, some fights for the playoffs. Edmonton, BC still tied, fighting for that last playoff spot. They're both at 7-10. They're looking for big wins this week, and BC needs Edmonton to lose against the Riders. Otherwise, BC is out of the playoffs, even if they beat Hamilton. So obviously, those two neck and neck. It's going to be an interesting race to watch, coming right down to the wire here. Okay, last week I was 3-1. Schulte was 2-2. I beat him again. Beat him on the Saskatchewan BC game. Should have gone with BC. That takes me to 37-31, and Schulte is now at 32-36. So I have a pretty comfortable 5-game lead on him. Okay. Anyways, no news or anything, just right to the picks. Week 19. First up, Friday Night Football. Calgary taking on Winnipeg. Neither of these teams really have anything to play for anymore at this point. Calgary's got a bye next week, and they'll be looking, they'll maybe play their starters for a bit, maybe the first half, but maybe not even that. Meanwhile, Winnipeg already eliminated from the playoffs 2 weeks ago, so they don't really have much to play for either. But I think Calgary is probably not going to play their starters. They probably want to sit them out, give them a little bit of time to rest. They don't want any injuries or anything. Looking to go into the bye week strong. And you know what? Winnipeg has this last game. They have this one last chance to win it. And you know what? With how good Winnipeg is, I think I have to take the surprise pick and go with Winnipeg. Okay, on to the next game, BC and Hamilton. This is game 1 of a Saturday doubleheader that will determine the playoffs. So BC is in Hamilton. BC obviously needing a win to stay alive in the playoff race. Hamilton coming off of a crushing last week in Calgary. They're back home now, and they're going to be back home in 2 weeks when they take on the Argos in the East Division semifinal. So BC obviously I think has a little bit more urgency because I think Hamilton wants to get back into a groove. They want to get back into their rhythm and take on the Argos. Right now they are they're 9-8. Hamilton is 9-8 right now, and I don't believe that they've won since beating the Argos, but I'm not sure if that's correct. Anyways, but like I said, Hamilton may be fighting to try and get back into a rhythm and stuff, but BC is fighting for their playoff lives here, and that's going to be very important. I think BC's defense is going to do a good job of shutting down the Hamilton offense, so I'm going to have to take BC on this one. Okay, next up, Edmonton and Saskatchewan. Now, this is an interesting game because Edmonton is also fighting for the playoffs. They really need this win in Saskatchewan. And Saskatchewan, on the other hand, is doing awful. Edmonton coming off of a very close win against Winnipeg last week. They just barely squeaked by and managed to win it in overtime. A game where offense was not really prominent, but then again, I'm not too happy with the Saskatchewan offense either, to be honest with you. So this should be an interesting game. The Riders have now dropped 4 straight, and if they lose this one to Edmonton, they're going to make it 5 and end up finishing their season at 9-9. Kind of scary when you consider that after Week 14 against the Argos, they were 9-4. So, all in all, I think logic says pick Edmonton. But you know what? I'm not too pleased with Edmonton. Saskatchewan is definitely looking to get back into a rhythm, and in a game like this, it's so important because it could be, depending on how well Edmonton does, it could be, a preview of what we're going to see in the CFL or in the West Division semifinal. So you know what? I think I honestly have to take the Riders to get back in the groove and get back to winning games. Okay, next up, Toronto and Montreal. Toronto, after that heartbreaking loss last week that came down to the last play. I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if they were able to beat Montreal. But obviously, this is the last week. They're both set. Obviously not really going to be that important. Now, Down the line, though, I think Montreal really has to be concerned. And I think that regardless of who wins the East semifinal, Toronto or Hamilton, I think that either team has a very good shot of taking down the Alouettes and eventually going to the Grey Cup. So Toronto's challenge, I think, will not be necessarily against Montreal. Their challenge will more be based in Hamilton. Getting past that first round is going to be difficult. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Meanwhile, the Alouettes are going to be looking to rest up their starters before a bye week. So I want to take Toronto, but it's at home. The Owls are at home. I have to take the Owls. Okay, so those are my picks once again in case you missed them. So yeah, last week, enjoy it. Gearing up for the playoffs, and once again, I'll see you next week.